written Hyferdal was written by a man named Roland Pritchard back in the 1800s, and it's survived to this day. And now here I put yet another set of lyrics to this old hymn. So here's a song celebrating our planetary existence. It's called Blue Boat Home. Oh, I'm being asked if it's okay if you're recording this, and I just said yes. Okay. Here we go. That was a long intro. I'll just sing the darn song now. Yeah. Though below me I feel no motion, standing on these mountains and plains, far away from the rolling ocean, still my dry land heart can say, I've been sailing all my life now, never harbor or port have I known. The wide universe is the ocean I travel, and the earth is my blue boat home. Sun, my sail, moon, my rudder, as I ply the starry sea, leaning over the edge in wonder, casting questions into the deep, drifting here with my ship's companions, all we kindred pilgrim souls, making our way by the lights of the heavens in our beautiful blue boat home. I give thanks to the waves upholding me, hail the great winds urging me on, greet the infinite sea before me, sing the sky my sailor's song. I was born upon the fathoms, never harbor or port have I known. The wide universe is the ocean I travel, and the earth is my blue boat home. The wide universe is the ocean I travel, and the earth is my blue boat. Blue boat.
Yay!
Thank you. Thanks.
Peter,
Okay, so yeah.
I wonder what it's like to be able to open your mouth and have your voice sound like that. That must be nice for you.
Well, that's very kind of you. It's very kind of you to say that. Well, yeah, thanks. I mean, I'm very grateful to be playing music and to be able to play music, and it continues to be a joy for me. I know now why your dad, doesn't want you to be a musician for a living, because now that I have kids, I'm realizing that it's a tricky way to make a living. But every time I'm able to somehow share music, participate in music, listen to music, it always brings such joy to me. And I think music is quite an amazing art form. So anyway, yeah, thanks, Nikki. I don't know if that was a question or I was trying to give you something.
Yeah, no, that's good. I mean, I did have some questions. One was if you've always felt an inclination as a storyteller, because so many of your songs are stories. So what is
Yeah.
that? Has that been something you've done your whole life, or?
Well, I think that it seems that as a songwriter, and also just writers in general, I feel oftentimes find that either a story of some sort, a narrative, um, or a metaphor, the use of story and metaphor in songwriting seems to be, for some reason, something that human beings are drawn to. And we are storytellers, and it's a very powerful dimension, I think, of who we are. And so yeah, I definitely try for that, as a songwriter. Usually either a story and or a metaphorical device or allegory or something like that, seems to be the best thing to do as a songwriter. If you're just speaking in the abstract, I think most of us lose interest after a while. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So our format here for the rest of you is that Nikki thought there'd be some conversation in between songs. So I encourage Nikki to just chime in if there's a question or comment that occurs. And so yeah. So shall I move to another song then, Nikki?
Yeah. And Peter, I did just think of one other song. If on
Okay,
you could
sure.
maybe throw it in the queue if you feel like it, is the Yukon Sally song, because we have a lot of, we're mountain folk here. So just if it fits, I'm
I'll
just
put
throwing
it
it at
down
you.
on my list. Yep. Thank you.
And if anyone knows Peter's music on the Zoom call, you can add suggestions in the chat and we'll just see what we can get to, and we'll flush it out as we go. But yeah, go ahead, Peter.
Sounds great. Well, this was another one that you mentioned, Nikki, for something to put on the set list, and so I'll play this song. This song is inspired by my own growing up Catholic, and growing up Catholic really impacted me. And one of the ways it did so was that this idea of the sacred, the holy, and when I was an altar boy um, in grade school, you're taught that. So an altar boy, if you don't know what that is a helper on the altar during the worship service, during the mass, and you're just helping the priest do these various actions that you do in the mass. And you're handling certain objects, giving them to the priest, taking them from the priest, putting them in their proper places, and these kinds of things. And some of those objects you were told that these are holy objects. There's something special, sort of magical almost, if you think of it in those terms, specially infused with divine presence. And so you are to handle those things very carefully and with extra care, really. And that feeling that I remember holding these objects very carefully and sort of wondering at them, wondering what is it about this that's so special that God has sort of anointed. And I remember that feeling. When I grew older, I really eventually no longer believed much of what Catholicism was asking me to believe. So I'm no longer Catholic. I left, gosh, 30 years ago almost, and no longer identify as Christian either. Although much of my growing up time really I'm still in conversation with that, with the stories and the imagery, the language of the religion of my childhood. And so this song is inspired by that idea of the holy. And as I grew up and began to learn more about the world and more about how amazing it is just to be alive and just to be part of the planet Earth, to be conscious in the universe. The more I just wondered at it all, and it all felt, when I actually stopped and thought about it, it all felt and still does feel like a holy place. So this song is inspired by that. This is called Holy Now. When I was a boy, each week, Sunday we would go to church and pay attention to the priest. He would read the holy word, consecrate the holy bread, and everyone would kneel and bow. Today the only difference is everything is holy now. Everything is holy now. When I was in Sunday school, we would learn about the time Moses split the sea in two. Jesus made the water wine. I remember feeling sad. Miracles don't happen still, but now I can't keep track, 'cause everything's a miracle. Everything's a miracle. Why? Water is not so small, but an even better magic trick is that anything is here at all. So the challenging thing becomes not to look for miracles, finding where there isn't one. Holy water was rare at best, barely wet my fingertips. But now I have to hold my breath like I'm swimming in a sea of it. Used to be a world half there, heaven's second-rate hand-me-down, but I walk it with a reverent air, 'cause everything is holy now. Everything is holy now. Read the questioning child's face, say it's not a testament, that'd be very hard to say. see another new morning come. Say it's not a testament, sacrament. Tell you that it can't be done. This morning outside I stood, saw a little red-winged bird shining like a burning bush, singing like a scripture verse. Made me want to bow my head. I remember when church let out, how things have changed since then. Everything is holy now. Used to be a world half there, heaven second rate, hand me down. But I walk it with a reverent air, 'cause everything is holy now. Thank you.
We were on mute, so you missed half
Yeah,
the
I know.
applause.
I understand. I know. I'm getting kind of used to the Zoom thing. It's funny. I think that maybe if I ever actually do go back to like in-person shows, I'll probably be shocked and offended when I hear people clapping. It's funny. Um, yeah. Okay. On to the next.
Yeah. If anyone has any questions in this room, let me know. You can come back to my little station back here. But yeah, Peter, on to the next. We could, well, you kind of answered one of the questions I sent, which was that quote about, it was the quote about, you are not a human being in search of a spiritual experience. You're a spiritual being immersed in a human experience. So that fits.
That's an interesting. Yes, and I'm sorry to interrupt, but it's funny because when you sent that, now I don't want to offend anybody, but when you sent that quote, and it's funny because I really like Teilhard de Chardin a lot, and his work has impacted me. His interest in science as a scientist, it's really, really important, and I love the way he thinks about the idea, for example, that we human beings are sort of the universe, the earth itself, become awake and aware, the conscious agent of life on earth, and able to gather information about the nature of things and to tell our own story and to tell the story of the earth and of the universe. This has really meant a great deal to me in my life, and subsequent thinkers and authors who have taken some of Teilhard's ideas and gone further with them. So, but I have to say, I've never really been a big fan of that quote. And I think I haven't really. And I think it's because it casts us as primarily spiritual beings. And I don't think of us that way. And partly is because, there's really, so at the risk of blathering on, and I will try to just play the next song sooner than later, I promise. But one of the things that's maybe inspired me more than anything else in my life is science, and that we know so much more about our world than we used to. And and none of what we know, it seems to me, and we know quite a bit now about so many things. None of what we know seems to me to paint a picture of us being separate in any way from our bodies, uh, the earth. We are rather embedded in it, sprung from it, came right up from the earth. It took a long time, but we are really inseparable. So it's my feeling that we ought to. I'll just speak for myself. I ought to, you know, try to create a spirituality on the things that we know to be true, and this idea of separation between spirit and body, it just doesn't resonate anymore with me. That is really what I grew up with. We are souls put into bodies, right? And the soul endures, the soul is eternal, the body is not. The body is really corrupted. It's really not what God intended, this body. And boy, I don't feel that way anymore. Now, I don't know Teilhard's work well enough to know what he intended with that, and perhaps it was different than what I'm talking about. But that's why I've never liked that quote. Our every mystical experience we have is firmly embedded in our mind, and our mind in our brain and our body, and the air around us, and the water that we take in, the air that we breathe every moment. And so my spirituality, I would probably suggest, comes more from this idea of connection, that we are just connected to everything. The atoms in our bodies come from supernova explosions. And this is a fact. We know this now, the atoms in our body, the calcium, the iron, the carbon that we are made out of, come mostly from supernova explosions. So you can look at the stars and think of them as your kindred, as your kin, that come from the stars. And these stories are not, when I started to learn these stories years ago, I became frustrated because they're not ritualized and made sacramental in the church that I was going to. And in many churches, we don't lift up and celebrate these ideas, because I think science has run ahead of our spiritual lives. There's so much more that we were learning. But even though we learned about evolution and Darwin 60 years ago, uh, we still, some of us just choose not to believe it. And I'd rather, start with the evidence. What do we know? Start with what we know to be true about our lives and about the world. Build our spirituality on that, because not only will I think it lead to a more true sort of spiritual experience of the world, but also align us with reality, which gives us wisdom and knowledge about how to act going forward. That's kind of my long-winded answer
That's
to
good, Peter.
that.
We like a little pushback around here. But I think, well, I should just speak for myself. I think that quote
Oh,
speaks to that integration. But that's another conversation, because we just want to hear you sing too.
yeah.
We
No,
don't want
it's
to
an
hear
interesting
me talk.
conversation. Yeah, go ahead. Or sorry.
Oh, no, I don't want to take up time me talking, because but we'll talk about that quote later. I'll
Yeah,
email.
okay. Sounds good. Sounds good. Um, okay. Let's move on to this song. This song is a song inspired by the season. One of the things I love about the Christmas story is how humble it is this child Jesus coming into the world in a very humble way. And there's something about that story that we just come back to because it just it feels so beautiful and simple, I think. Um, and so this image of the stable where Jesus was born is certainly one that has stayed with me. And so this song is uses that image of the stable and and talks about it as the place where love comes to stay. And before Jesus gets there, it's a place waiting for love to come. And I think there are all sorts of places in the world constantly waiting for love to come. And so in Bethlehem, a manger waits, long ago and so today, where hatred weary people pray, love will come and lay there. And so do countless stables stand, in hearts as harsh as desert lands, rough shelters in the wind and sand, that love may come and stay there. Love that opens fists of hate, heaps up gold on beggars' plates. Love that shows a kindly face to enemies and strangers. And the walls of stables tremble so when the winds of fear and judgment blow, or a stable hopes in love alone, and knows that love's the answer. Oh, love, the prophet's only word, the only lesson left to learn, the only end of heaven's word, and the only road that goes there. Love that sees with mercy's eyes, holds its arms out open wide, threads its loom with separate life, and weaves them all together. So may the lamps of stables glow brightly, that their light may go for miles in the darkness. So love will find its way. Okay.
That
Well,
song's so good.
yeah, thank you. Thank you. Well, a song for the season. Are you all having snow there? Do you have snow on the ground?
Yeah, we just had a big storm, but it was otherwise pretty dry. So, how about you? How's Minnesota?
Yeah, we do have quite a bit of snow on the ground right now. We just had a good snowfall a couple nights ago. Yeah, so it's feeling pretty Christmassy around here. It's
Oh, good.
nice.
Good.
Yeah. Um, okay. Well, I'm thinking here. I'm just looking at my list. Um, well, okay. So I think I'll shift gears. Uh, Again, per your recommendation that we talked earlier, Nikki. I like to, throw in a little lighter hearted song once in a while when I play. And this song is one that Nikki mentioned that there's apparently lots of introverts amongst you all. And I also discovered years years ago after I took the Myers-Briggs personality inventory that I am uh, I came out as an introvert after the results came in, and and it was kind of funny because the circumstances around which I took that test were when I was in college, I was went to a career counselor to try and just decide what I wanted to be, professionally, and I said, well, I think I'd like to, maybe be I mean, I wanted to be a musician too, but I was a little nervous about that. So I thought, well, what about a social worker or, go a minister or something like that? Um, I just wanted to be in a quote, people helping profession, you know? And so I told her that. And then I took the test and the results came back in. And she said, well, it's interesting that you want to go into a people helping profession because uh, it appears that you don't like people. That was what she said. Well, and what she was alluding to was the fact that I was an introvert. And of course, that does not mean that you don't like people, but that's just the way she kind of framed it up. But I have since, I started to be aware. Well, started to. That was a long time ago. I'm aware now of my introvertedness, my introverted tendencies, and so after I found out the results and I learned, what an introvert is actually. I wrote this song just out of hopefully good humor. People bug me when they interrupt me with calls and unannounced visits. And on top of that, when they chat about nothing at all, and I ask, what is it? I do have a lot to do. Can you return at 2? I will not be here by then. Just leave what you need me for on a note on my door so I can ignore it, my friend. Now, I have to say before I sing the second verse that, if you want a song to be obsolete in about 5 years, just put technology in it, like reference some kind of technology that you're using at the time that you write the song. And then sure enough, it's going to be very confusing for people, 20 years later. So in the next verse, I actually reference answering machines. And of course, those of us old enough to remember answering machines know what they are. I just want to acknowledge that before I sing the verse. Okay. You may think it maddening when you ring my answering machine, and I'm right there listening. But I'd like to hire my own secretary who's mean. Someone who says things like, Mr. Mayor can't be reached, he is not in UC, he's in a meeting till 10. I suppose I could take your name, who are you anyway? Please never call here again. If I see you before you see me in the hall, and while you're not looking, I'll find the nearest bathroom and hide in the stall. Till I think the coast is clear, then I will take a peek, and if you're gone, I'll sneak back to my private abode. There in my world of one, I have a lot more fun because people bug me, you know. Oh, I do have a lot to do. Can you return at 2? I will not be here by then. Just leave what you need me for on a note on my door so I can ignore it, my friend. People bug me when they interrupt me with calls, unannounced visits, and on top of that, when they chat about nothing at all. I ask, what is it today? There you go. That's to all of you, for all of you introverts.
It's nice for the introverts to have an anthem, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. That we can all sing by ourselves.
Yes. Uh,
Um, okay.
Peter, can
Well,
I ask you another question?
you bet. Yeah.
How, if you had to concisely describe your spirituality as it is now, what would you say?
Well, there one term that resonates, I think, with where I'm at is spiritual naturalist or religious naturalist. Um, and I kind of alluded to some of that earlier, where I really, these days, I really, um, I think that I don't really spend a lot of time speculating, I guess you might say, about quote unquote supernatural realms or realities. I think that those are things that I can't know about. Um, I I guess I prefer to learn as much as I can about the known world, whether it be um, the small universe of the living cell, or the cosmos itself. And I think there's so much about what we know now that really there could be lifetimes of meditation and celebration, of just this idea that here we are, a part of life on earth. You know, you look out the window and you see a blade of grass or a tree, and those are really our blood relatives. They have in them the same ancestral cell structure, that we have. It's just really quite astonishing when you think about it, that we are all relatives on earth and that we all come from the same life on earth almost 4,000 million years ago, the life that emerged in the oceans of the earth. And I just think this is just such an amazing, just mind-boggling, mysterious, beautiful story that I, kind of think that's what inspires me in my songwriting. I think, gosh, we need ways to sort of make a heart connection with this story of ours, the story of the universe itself, and how we got here, and that we are all related that way, in a very deep way. So anyway, that's a long answer to your question, but uh, a naturalist because I spend most of my energy, uh, you know, trying to learn about nature, that is reality as we've come to understand it, and then religious or spiritual because I'm concerned about how to find meaning out of that, I guess, how to create meaning out of that, and to have feel a spiritual connection to it, to try and cultivate that, and not just understand it in my head, but also feel it in my heart and feel it in my life in general, kind of live out of that. So anyway, that's a long answer, but that's kind
Oh,
of where I'm at, I
that's
guess.
great. Those are themes we talk about here, and it makes me think of Thomas Berry or John Muir. I don't know if those are
Yeah.
people you.
Oh yeah. Oh my
Okay.
goodness. Thomas Berry, who is a
Yes.
champion of Teilhard de Chardin, right? Yeah,
Right.
his book Universe Story, that was really watershed moment for me in my life. Him and Brian Swim, and that's yeah, that was just huge. And I know that you all have, or some of you before we started zooming, a couple of you were talking about. I think you used the word creation spirituality. So Matthew Fox and those folks who I found as a Catholic, and I was studying theology and Catholicism, you know, and I found Matthew Fox and talks about the cosmic Christ, so I think he's struggling with how to take what we've learned about the cosmos, about the universe, this new story, and to integrate it into a larger sense of what, who Jesus is, and who God is, and all that stuff. That way of thinking really is has been important to me. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I think that term's eco-theologian. Is that resonate with
Sure.
you?
Hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what Thomas calls himself, or called himself rather, right?
Yes.
Eco theologian. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, and taking this story and the idea that, okay, so we know this story now, from the Big Bang forward. Now, before that, we don't know, and it's still mystery, and much of it is and always will be mystery. However, what we do know now is just so vast compared to what we knew 100 years ago. Even it's so profound, and that story of the universe, the Big Bang, and the story of how the stars eventually emerged out of this sort of plasma as the universe was cooling. First of all, atoms, emerged, and then the stars came out of that, and then onward we go into the story of the Earth, born out of one of these star clouds. I mean, it's just so incredible. I think this story ought to be told to all of our children in a very, deep way, in a very impactful way. And I think we're just beginning to sort of find ways to tell this huge, complicated story and try to make it simple as we can for children and even for ourselves. And the story of evolution, it's just incredible stuff. So Yeah, I can't remember what your comment was. Forgive me, Nikki, but
No,
it's
that's
I think it's very exciting, and it's exciting, I think, for all of us to be living at a time now where we know this. We know that we are relatives with all the rest of the living things on earth. We didn't always know nor believe that. Uh, and this changes you, I think. This changes you. If you really see yourself as that, as part of the family of life on earth, life can be considered one unfolding event on earth, one continual unfolding event. And we are a part of that. Gosh, that is very meaningful to me and really impacts my spirituality for sure.
yeah, that's so great. That was great to hear you just share all that. Right on with
Okay.
it's
Well,
really
thank
right
you.
on with the themes we have been thinking about and talking about. And I mentioned to you, we read the book, Everything is Spiritual by Rob Bell, which I don't know if you've read that, but I think
I
you would
haven't.
enjoy it. He hits on a lot of what you just talked about, but it also makes me think of the song, The Play of yours. I
Oh,
don't
yeah,
know if
yeah,
that would be on your list. You can
yeah,
deviate if need be, but
yeah. I'll do that one. One more comment too, if you don't mind, on um, I can't remember what made me think of this, but I think that I'm so glad to hear that you all are kind of wrestling with some of those ideas, and I think that we're in a moment on the planet as human beings where it's really, really important that we try to integrate scientific knowledge into our spirituality. And it's not, again, I mentioned this earlier, it's not just for our own happiness and our own fulfillment to do that. I do think that it can lead to that because the more in line you are with your world, your home, uh, you will find, I think, more joy and happiness. But it's also, I think, moving forward on this planet, being in a very uh, concerning time with our population, all the problems that we're facing collectively. Uh, I think the more we can sort of integrate what we know about the natural world, about the way life works, the life systems of the earth, and the more we can, gain an understanding of how to behave in the world, how to what are the right choices to make for life to flourish. And so I think it's almost an act of uh, justice, really, to try and bring these ideas into our faith, into our religion. Uh, it's just very important. So anyway, I just thought I'd make that comment. Um, okay, so the play. So I don't know. So Nikki, you had mentioned Thomas Berry, who is an author who's passed away now, but he had this wonderful book called The Universe Story. Well, he wrote it with a man named Brian Swim, who is still living. He's on the West Coast, and um, he he had this little book. Has this little book called uh, I think it's called Hidden Heart of the Cosmos, and in that book he talks about how the fact that we're on a planet is not a very intuitive thing. And I think this is probably why it took us so long to sort of discover that we're on a planet. It's not an intuitive thing. We don't feel the earth moving. We see the sky moving over us, and it does not seem like we are turning. It seems like the sky is moving over us. And so But he, of course, is also of the belief that it's important for us to try and get this inside of us, this idea that we are actually, the truth is we're on a planet. And if we can get that inside of us a little bit more at an emotional level, that it will serve us well, for the reasons I mentioned before. And we'll feel more aligned with the way things actually are, because our imaginations are very powerful and we can imagine all sorts of things. And if it's not based in reality, then, well, what can happen then, all sorts of fun things. But so anyway, bear with me here. I'd like to invite you all to think of tuning as time for meditation. This takes the pressure off me to like get it done soon, above or below. It's all relative. And so I think that it's a lovely way to sort of feel that we're on a planet. So here is a song inspired by that. When I go outside at night, look up and the stars are bright. Sometimes I lay on the ground and imagine that the sky is down. And if the earth should then let go, I'd fall into the stars below. I'd fall into the stars below. When I see the red sunset in its quiet splendor, I reflect that sun's not going down at all, but the earth is turning somersaults. And through a sunlit sea it trails, and we are on that great big wave, riding on that great big wave. I try to grasp the simple fact of this existence. Think of all the fantasies, fairy tales and wishes. None strike me as more unlikely or magnificent than this is. Hands and faces seen up close, galaxies through telescopes, crimson hillsides in the fall, more astounding than them all are pondering minds with eyes that see. These are deep mysteries, deep mysteries. Simple fact of this existence. Think of all the fantasies, fairy tales and wishes. None strike me as more unlikely or magnificent than this is. Like a strange enchanting play of impossible dimensions, the setting and the stage run light years in all directions, and the breathless scenes and the storyline defy comprehension. When I think of all the roles in this production, all I know is I'm in the cast, but could it be I'm also in a front row seat to sit in my amazement, gazing to ooh and ah, to sigh and say, my, what a wonderful play. My, Thank you, thank you. Okay. Everybody doing all right?
Yeah, we're doing great.
All right. Well, I don't know. Maybe a song for winter solstice. Does that feel like something you might want to?
Yeah, we got a lot of yas.
Yeah. Okay. We're getting close. We're getting close to solstice now, and it's always a big adjustment, isn't it, to get used to the darkness in this time of year, eat dinner in the dark. But I do think that it's beautiful what we've created in the dark time of year, this festival of lights, this Christmas time and solstice time. It's just a beautiful thing, and a time when people gather and help each other get through the darkness, celebrate it even. And it was fun to, one of the things that I enjoy doing with my kids, my girls are 10 and 14 now, is we do a little simulation of the earth traveling around the sun. You use like a grapefruit for the earth, and have somebody in the middle shining a light. And then as you turn around that person, holding the earth at its tilt, the grapefruit at its tilt like this, and might help to even like draw a little equator around it so you can see the tilt. And it's just fun to see, oh my gosh, look at the shadows, look at how the shadows, how the light is striking uh, the earth as it moves around the flashlight. And you can really see why there's solstice, the solstices, and then the opposite ends of the circle, the equinoxes, when it's pretty much halfway. It's really wonderful way to kind of picture what's going on. Why are we living in the darkness right now? So anyway, I have to tune for this one, so I'm going to say, let's have some more meditation. I mean, we do have busy, stressful lives, and maybe the tuning will be the thing that you love most about this whole evening. So I'm going to let you experience it. I'm just going to tune back to standard tuning. Here we go. almost there. It's funny how I've been playing all my adult life performing and I still don't know how to tune, like, swiftly or quickly in between songs. Okay, so here's a little meditation for winter solstice, which is the longest night of the year. Okay, hold on. I'm going to try that again. Just bear with me here. Light a candle, sing a song, say that the shadows shall not cross, make an oblation out of all you've lost in the longest night. Gather friends, cast your hopes into the fire as it snows. Stare at God through the dark windows of the longest night of the year. A night that seems like a lifetime if you're waiting for the sun. So why not sing to the nighttime and the burning stars up above? Come with drums, bells and horns. Come in silence, come forlorn. Come like a miner to the door of the longest night. Deep in the stillness, deep in the cold, deep in the darkness, miner knows that there is a diamond in the soul of the longest night of the year. A night that seems like a lifetime if you're waiting for the sun. So why not sing to the nighttime and the burning stars up above? Maybe peace hides in a storm. Maybe winter's heart is warm. Maybe light itself is born in the longest night this night. A song for solstice. Well, I don't know any other thoughts or questions or requests or anything. I'm thinking maybe a couple more songs. Does that feel about right to people? I'm happy to play longer if you want. I'm very
I
easy.
think maybe two more would be good, Peter. That sounds great.
Okay. Um, all right. I'm just thinking. It's hard to read the audience, when you can't see anybody. Um,
I
are you
know
guys? Go
I
ahead.
know Coming Home is a fallish song, but that one was mentioned to me as a favorite. But no
Okay.
pressure. You just live your life, Peter.
I'm happy to do Coming Home. Maybe we do that for the last song.
Yeah.
And part of the reason I suggest that is because it's in a completely different tuning.
Oh.
I'm going to have to inflict upon you the process of getting there. So, but meanwhile, I could do either, there's a song. Well, okay, I'm thinking. Yeah, okay. Maybe this one. This song is easy because I don't have to play the guitar. I can just do it a cappella. I don't have to tune for you. So I found that now it's an interesting journey that we're all on, isn't it? This ongoing pandemic. My goodness, I was talking to a friend of mine who's a nurse, and wow, it's just I really feel for her and for all of her colleagues. It's a difficult time, I think, for them especially. And so one of the things that really has helped me and continues to do so with the pandemic, I would imagine a lot of you, for you as well, is just getting outside. Our options are rather limited in terms of activities, not as much as they were in the strict quarantine, but still it feels pretty restricted. But going outside is, oh my goodness, such good therapy. I think for me, certainly taking my dog out for a walk, I just love doing that so much. And so the beauty of the world and the beauty of nature is still there for us, and I'm so grateful for that. So seems like an appropriate song to sing. So this is just called beauty of the world. And I'll like I said, I play this one a cappella, so I'll just use my guitar as a little bit of a drum here. If you look to the daily news so that you can stay attuned to what matters, you might find that headlines don't describe the beauty of the world. So if you hang your head straight out of bed because you read the doom and gloom and got discouraged, ignore your computer screen and look to see the beauty of the world. Beauty like the sun coming down, Beauty like the seed in the ground, rising and reaching out, reaching for the sky. Beauty like the life in the land, moving in your own two hands. Beauty like the wondrous chance to be alive. If you're down to your final dime and can't decide what else to buy to be happy, you don't need a credit card to give your heart the beauty of the world. And if you walk the street with tired feet, bending underneath the grief that you carry, lay the weight you brought along down upon the beauty of the world. Beauty like the wind in the trees, beauty like children's dreams, beauty like the sound of steeple bells when they ring. Beauty like ties that bind us, beauty like acts of kindness, beauty like the light inside of everything. Beauty like the sun come down, beauty like the seed in the ground, rising and reaching out, reaching for the sky. Beauty like the life in the land, moving in your own two hands. Beauty like the wondrous chance to be alive. If your whole shtick is tragic here, but you are sick of being such a big cynic, you can try out a joyful shout, sing about the beauty of the world. And if you don't like to have to wait and think your chances aren't great to get to heaven, maybe one way to save your soul is get to know the beauty of the world. Get to know the beauty of the world. Get to know the beauty of the world. Okay, so now I am going to tune for you for the last song.
It's nice to know, though, Peter, that you're also a drummer.
Yeah, well, I don't know if I would actually call myself a drummer. That was a very simple part I was playing for you, but thank you, Nikki.
Yeah.
If you want to call me a drummer, doggone it,
I'm gonna
not stop you. All right. Now on with the capo. Now I have to fine tune it. Now I'm sort of in the neighborhood, and now I have to fine tune this song. I can tell you that, yes, like you mentioned, this is a song inspired by autumn. It is still technically autumn, isn't it? It's still technically autumn.
right.
So we have to get to the winter solstice to call it winter. So I think we're still within bounds playing an autumn song. And it does reference, the holidays at the end of this song. And I don't know, did you all have a nice autumn in your part of the world there?
We did. We had a great autumn actually this year. Sometimes the aspen tree, the leaves just get blown off in like September, and then it's sad autumn, but not this year. They stuck around, so it was really nice.
Sad autumn. Well, same here. We had such a beautiful autumn, and it lasted. It was we had it seemed a good month of the trees, the colors, and temperate days where it was like 40s and 50s and 60s. Oh my gosh, it was just something else. So
what part of Minnesota are you in, Peter?
Well, we live in Stillwater, which is just a half an hour east of St. Paul.
Right.
It's a
beautiful up there.
It is beautiful. It's a beautiful river town. It's really really pretty.
You go up Highway 95 and catch all kinds of beautiful colors.
Yeah, yes, indeed. Yep, for sure. Almost there. Thanks for your patience. Well, so let's make this the last song, and I'll just say a proper goodbye afterward. Then, um, I'm just realizing, looking at my iPad here, that I gotta find these lyrics. So let me just call up the lyrics here. Okay. Okay, sorry, where did they go now? I'm not the smoothest with tuning or with iPads, unfortunately. Um, okay, so I'll just play the song then. I mean, any other thoughts before I do, or shall we just connect afterward after the song? Well, I'll just play this song and then we'll say our goodbyes, or if you have any other questions or whatever.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds
Okay.
great.
Okay.
Oh no. Oh no. Oh no. Oh, Peter, my bad. I
Oh, no,
muted
no,
you.
no, no
I was
worries at
trying to
all.
mute me.
Oh, that's okay. Don't even think about it. Man, I'm not the one to judge anybody with technology. Like, I'm just the worst. I can't even believe I figured out how to like be with you guys tonight because I'm so illiterate technologically. So
I'm sorry.
yeah.
Go ahead, please. My bad.
Okay. Very good. We'll start over again. Here we go. When trees are turning, chimney smoke is curling, fallen leaves are swirling, I'll be coming home. When geese are wending, apple branches bending, when the summer's ending, I'll be coming home. When autumn's first frost glistens on the corn stalks, bales of hay and sweet squash, I'll be coming home. And hill and meadow are crimson, rust and yellow, and fruits of August mellow, I'll be coming home. And rest will greet me, love will receive me, joy like a deep red wine fill my heart. I have been trotting the furrowed fields of summer, footsteps heavy under the seeds I've come to sow. When some have sprouted and I have hoped and doubted, and every bushel's counted, I'll be coming home. And rest will greet me, love will receive me, joy like a deep red wine fill my heart. And rest will greet me, love will receive me, joy
foxes in their holes then. Skies awaiting snow when I'll be coming home. When hearths are burning, tables set with sterling, I will be returning.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks, everybody.